With a whopping 71 million votes, the burnt orange centaur Trump is literally the most popular loser in presidential history. And it's a reality that isn't going down too well with the reality star.
You're fired. You're fired. You're fired.
Like a horror movie where the killer is defeated, but there's one more reel of the film left to run. It's impossible to escape that queasy, uneasy feeling in your bowels that the worst is yet to come. So what is the Donald up to? Is not conceding just a case of vanity?
The Twitter photo appears to show a dramatic forehead makeup line.
Is the creation of a Save America super PAC to fight the corrupt results just a ploy to collect money to pay off his old debts?
Are you confirming that, yes, you do owe some $400 million?
What I'm saying is that it's a tiny percentage of my net worth.
Is he really just focused on how he can commercialize and monetize his one-term presidency?
He's worried about how he can commercialize and monetize all of this. If you see his tax returns published in the New York Times, he has a lot of debt.
Is Mitch McConnell's accepting of his own victory whilst backing up the conspiracy of the very good brain president?
Because I have a very good brain.
Just a ploy to help win the runoff for the Senate.
You're trying to get me to answer a question. Well, obviously, I'd a lot rather be the majority leader than the minority leader.
Is the sacking of Defense Secretary Mark Esper and Under Secretary of Defense James Anderson just paving the way for what Secretary of State Mike Pompeo described as the smooth transition to the second Trump administration?
There will be a smooth transition to a second Trump administration. Right.
Is the unprecedented talk of strong-arming electors to vote Trump in December even a thing?
Donald Trump ostensibly still implying that he's a chance of becoming president if the Supreme Court overturns hundreds of thousands of votes or some Republican state legislature decides to give the Electoral College votes to him even though he didn't earn them.
Are we actually looking at a coup? The death of American democracy? Civil War 2.0? In truth, it's possible that it's all these things. Whilst federal, state and local officials put out the message that this had been the most secure election in American history,
the nation's top federal election infrastructure agency says this year's election was, quote, the most secure in history.
And that it was distributed by Homeland Security's Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Whew, what a mouthful. Donald Trump spent his time putting out a tsunami of baseless claims that even his lawyers claim to have no knowledge of.
Trump has waged lawsuits in a number of states that got shot down almost as quickly as they were filed. In Georgia, there was a lawsuit claiming 53 ballots were submitted late, for which the campaign had no evidence and the case was dismissed. In Philadelphia, the Trump campaign claimed that observers weren't being allowed in before admitting to the judge that the campaign did, in fact, have campaign officials observing the counting, to which the judge, a George W. Bush appointee, replied, "I'm sorry, then what's your problem?"
Even Karl Rove admits the election won't be overturned, yet Donald Trump insists on the recounts that will see him lose again for the second time, twice. Loser. Reuters have reported that Donald Trump's official defense fund is nothing of the sort, with donations under 8K going directly to Donald Trump himself and a staggering 60% of donations above 8K, guess what, going to the Donald as well. But with a defeated election campaign badly in debt, you can see why the Donald might be focused again on the Benjamins. It's Trump first over America first, and with President-elect Sleepy Joe Biden not even being allowed to have security briefings, this is not going to be the smooth transition of power that the pandemic-ridden nation badly needs. But then, Trump was never really that bothered about the virus in the first place, with a new White House outbreak taking down Ben Carson, Mark Meadows, and even his chief of staff, whilst Trump plans more rallies.
So we begin, Oklahoma, we begin.
And with that, President Trump kicked off his first campaign-style rally in several months, ignoring guidance from Oklahoma health officials who feared a large enclosed gather could help spread COVID-19 in a state seeing a record number of cases.
Trump is going down fighting, and he's fighting everybody, including Fox News, The lame duck president even referred to himself as the Golden Goose this week, whilst simultaneously also admitting that he actually lost the election by saying that Fox News had made the difference back in 2016.
Trump has told friends he wants to start a digital media company to defeat Fox News and undermine it. Perhaps in part because they called Arizona against him.
It's not all rabid denial, thankfully, with hope springing from the unlikely source of Republican mega donor Sheldon Edelson, and who states the president is doing a disservice to his supporters and that his claims are simply false. But for a narcissist who undoubtedly will have a huge say in how the Republican Party is run when he's finally wrenched out of office, he hasn't used his very good brain to work out how he can appear to be the hero in his own story, which, let's face it, is his fundamental driver. For a campaign that started by a golden elevator and seems to have ended in the car park of a gardening centre next to a pawn shop and a morgue, you can almost empathise with needing a better outcome. Almost, kind of, not really. It's poetic.
Oh my goodness, all the networks. Wow! All the networks! We have to forget about the law. Judges don't count.
The Trump blimp has never had any real interest in obeying the law, let alone paying off his debts or his taxes. But whilst he believes that he can still rally the support of literally half the country, it's a very real possibility that the White House may have to be wrenched out of his cold, dead hands.
From my cold, dead hands.
So is a well-armed militia and a military coup simultaneously possible as we predicted? Is it really happening? Well, maybe, or maybe not. And the Democrats? Well, the Democrats are doing what they always do and bringing a knife to a gunfight.
Isn't that just like brings a knife to a gunfight?